What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Shout Out to You Show. Clap it up, clap it up. We're just gonna talk about random stuff right now. I know everybody's going crazy over the Kendrick Drake stuff. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. First of all, y'all can listen to this on every place you can listen to your podcast. You know, this is a spinoff Kixologist podcast. You know, sometimes I gotta talk about things other than sneakers. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am mentally drained by this feud. and especially for the people in the comments. Like, I'm gonna talk about it briefly. It's just, you're either on this side or that side. And when people try to be subjected to it, it just doesn't work out, because people are like, oh, you're a Drake hater or you're a Kendrick hater. And then you hear about like Drake meat riders and Kendrick meat riders and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. I am honestly exhausted from it. Everybody reaching in to find something, to pull something out. At this point, like, I'm here for a sparring exhibition. And at this point, because the fans in general, that I read the comments and stuff, because of the fans in general, I don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. When they release something, I'll listen to it, maybe give my opinions on it. But at this point, the way the fans are treating it and the way they're going for it need be, because that's your people. So if your person, these are two of the main dogs in the hip hop game right now. And yeah, if one of your people loses, then yeah, that's a big hit. Honestly. So, I mean, at this point, I'm honestly just mentally exhausted from it. Drake has had some good tracks. I think his Family Matters was his best one. Some people say Push Ups. I think Family Matters was his best one. I think Kendrick has some really good responses to that, and just how strategic he's been on it. I'm not gonna look into, oh, he changed the cover art, or oh, this has happened, or Drake hasn't said this, or blah 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 blah. Honestly, that's a lot of fans looking into stuff and making up their own theories to back their own people. And at this point, I just do not care. I just do not care. I'm mentally exhausted. Y'all need to fix this. Y'all need to have somebody come through, some OGs come through, talk to y'all, get it over. Because and a lot of people are like, oh, hip hop is back. So people got a beef for hip hop to be back. That's crazy. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, I don't really want to go into it even further. I don't care what side you're on, to be honest. But if you, I'm not even gonna do that. It's actually one of the most interesting things in hip hop so far. Even Metro Boomin got some receipts up, and he's putting some things. So there actually was Drake's camp trying to take down like that, and some radio stations. So, I mean, if the receipts come out, and then everything is proven. Everybody's calling each other a liar. There's apparently daughters, and I can't say the word on this, because then I'll get flagged. So, y'all know, if you've been following, you know what's been said. So I don't have to reiterate what's been said, but I can just tell you this: I'm mentally exhausted from it. And some people would be like, oh, that's lame, blah 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 blah. You know, at this point, it is what it is. If you enjoy this stuff, keep rocking with it. I'm gonna listen to it whenever it comes out. But aside from like reading comments and like seeing what other people feel about it, I'm cool, because y'all don't know how to have a conversation. So I'm chilling. Y'all just, it's exhausting. But what I really want to talk to you guys about is the NBA playoffs have actually been the most interesting that they have been in years. Like 100%. And I don't care what anybody says. Now this one, I'll stand on it. I don't care what anybody says. The NBA playoffs have been the most interesting that they've ever been. And that shout out to the new school coming up. I'm gonna give Adam Silver his flowers. I'm digging it. Like, I'm actually excited to watch playoff basketball. Like, I've never been excited to watch the Nuggets play in their history, even with Melo. Like teams like the Jazz, teams like Portland, like they're just boring to me. San Antonio, boring to me. For some reason, like recently, they've all been exciting to watch. Maybe not Portland. Y'all get there, but maybe not Portland. But every team has been exciting to watch. And it's just this new energy coming up. And these young These young dudes are taking the crown. They're not asking for it. They taking the crown. I don't care who hates on the play-in. I think the play-in was the best thing added to the league. Regardless of what y'all say, the play-in is the best thing to be added to the league. Even if they get fed to the first or second seed, we've seen the Miami Heat go from a play-in team to the finals. We've seen the Lakers go from a play-in team to the Western Conference Finals. At that point, this play-in thing is trash. It's been debunked because it changes the dynamic of things. So let's say a team that's a solid 7, right, would go up against this team, but because they lose that play-in, they get switched out into that matchup, and then it changes the dynamic of things. You're not prepping for this team anymore because you could get either one of the 4. We have teams in 9 and 10 that are actually playing basketball to get into the play-in. We're not having 9 through whatever tank anymore. Like, they're just out and they're just going to play trash basketball. Like, 9 and 10 are actually playing to get in. And yes, it's for playoff money, but you got to respect these teams are actually trying. I'm a Bulls fan, and I know we haven't really, since the injury to Lonzo and all this stuff, we ain't really been pushing nothing, right? But to see the team actually keep playing for a play-in and not just tanking to get a draft pick is actually really refreshing. I actually appreciate it. Teams actually trying to get playoff money. I'm here for it. I'm here for it all. Like, regardless of what you guys say, the play-in was a great addition. Like, these teams are actually playing 9 through 10. Like, teams are actually playing to get into the play-in. 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever team that is close, they're playing to get into the play-in. And like, to see that competitiveness, I'm here for it, because we get to the point where season's almost over and people start mailing it in, and then you get like the worst lineups known to man, and like, we got to sit here and watch that. They sitting people out for the year. We got to sit here and watch that crap. And especially people who buy a league pass or people who buy tickets, and nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. So the fact that the play-in is making teams competitive still, I'm here for it. I don't care what anybody says against it. Like, you can't sit there and say like you haven't seen these bottom of the barrel teams get competitive. And my biggest argument towards the play-in is when you see those teams make that trade mid-season, right? They were like a trash team, and then they make this trade, and then out of nowhere they get this momentum, right? And they start beating teams that they weren't beating before, and they start cooking, and then they get to like the 9th seed or the 10th seed, but everybody's like, next year that team is going to be solid, because I don't think any team want to play this team in the playoffs, because the way they were playing throughout. We actually get to see that now. We actually get to see teams that make trades and tweaks of like teams that weren't that good, and out of nowhere after the All-Star weekend they start cooking. They actually get a shot to show like, hey, yo, we're cooking now, and we're in this play-in. And if you don't beat us or get rid of us, we about to be a problem. Now, they might not go all the way to the chip, but I think the Lakers are a great example of them making that trade at the deadline last year and them getting hot, more hot than what they were. And they got to the Western Conference Final. They just proved that point of like, yo, you can get excited about it. Your team can be trash, make a tweak, start cooking, get that 9th or 10th seed, get into the play-in, and actually start playing in, because it's one and done if you get in. I'm not gonna say one and done, depends on the situation. 7, 8 is one and done. But like, if you win 2 games and your team is that hot and they win those games, they're in. And I don't think that first seed and second seed want to see a team that's cooking like that, honestly, because you could be a first seed, like the Miami Heat. You could be a first seed where you think, okay, we get in here and we get rid of this 8th seed and we're out. Like everybody says, like the 8th seed and 7th seed are worthless because blah, blah, blah. Miami took the 8th seed out. The last 2 play-ins have proved all your theories wrong about why the play-in shouldn't be here. The play-in is freaking exciting. You got to let that go. Like it's really good until the play-in becomes trash. Like the play-in right now is actually keeping the league interesting. In-season tournament, something else. I like the in-season tournament. I just think they need to kind of, I don't think they need to change anything up. I just think they need to figure out like where it's going. It was the first one. I don't care about like people putting banners up for the in-season tournament. It's an in-season tournament. Like soccer teams for all through Europe and stuff have in-season tournaments, and they take that stuff seriously. So it's all about the perception of it. I know people are like, oh, well, you know, It's about like, oh, how we get the players interested. You get the players interested about adding it to their legacy. You get the players interested by letting them know like this is something serious. Like, we're gonna keep this going. You can add this to your resume. Like, it can be added to your resume. It's not gonna be added to your resume to debunk past legends, because we can't do that because it's just been implemented. But think about how many in-season tournament champions we would have had in previous years if we actually had that. It just takes some time to get movement. It takes some time to get it going. When you get teams that win it, it's nice, because you get teams that go really hot in the first half of the year, and you're like, oh, they could have went somewhere, and then they stall out. But they, at least while they're hot, they can get something from it. And I'm not saying like it's a consolation prize, because other leagues don't use it as a consolation prize, but it's something to be proud of. If you win an in-season tournament, that's still something to be proud of. Like, people bash the Lakers for like winning it and then kind of stalling out, but at the end of the day, it just happens to some teams. Now, if they had won it and then won a chip, like, no one would be complaining, but it's because it's the Lakers and LeBron, and that's an issue. So honestly, like, because if the Pacers had won it, the Pacers are doing really well in the playoffs. The Pacers would have won it, no one would be hating on it, because they're still doing good. Now, I know they had some like, oh, after the tournament, they started like wearing out, and that could be on the team just for like prepping for this tournament and then like not going forward. But I think the in-season tournament is going to be a great addition when players start taking that seriously, as they should. That's adding to your legacy, right? Other legends got to stop shitting on it. Like, it's corny. It's super corny, and they're doing it because they didn't have a chance to get into it. Because if, let's say Shaq has 4 championships, 7 in-season tournament crowns, or whatever you're calling it, he's using that on his resume. He's using that on his resume, and you can talk bad about it all you want, but it's a great addition. Like, it keeps teams competitive all year, and that's what we want. We want teams to be competitive. Like, y'all trying to like, oh, get rid of it, blah blah blah. But we get upset when teams don't want to be competitive. Y'all don't even know what you want. So like, I'm here for it. But let's talk about how these playoffs are super interesting. Regardless of, first of all, I feel like firing Darvin Ham is not his fault. The way the team has been ran, they've gotten to where they are. It's the team that you put together. It's up management. Like, he's gotten y'all to the Western Conference Finals the year before, and you just got out in the first round. Like, it happens to teams. You guys still made the playoffs 2 years in a row, and he gets fired. It's the personnel you guys have. The personnel didn't work. It worked last year because, again, you get those teams that get hot after a trade deadline, and it works out. The chemistry was good. I don't follow the Lakers and know if they kept the same core as that, and I don't think they did. But you can't always capture that magic like that. You got to make the right adjustments, and I don't think management made the right adjustments. And that's not on the coach. You still got to the playoffs. Like, he still has a winning record as a head coach. It's not on him. It's your personnel. But I get it. When you have LeBron and AD on the team, it's win now. When you don't win, it's just like that. Like, the Lakers are like the Yankees and I want to say the Cowboys. Who else would be in this mix of teams that just, they want to win now and they don't want to wait? And if you're not doing it, you are out. It's one of those situations where it happens, right? The Dodgers will probably be in that same category. You have to win now. If you're not winning now, what are we doing, right? So I get it, but also you got to understand, like, it takes time to build that chemistry. It takes time to build what that coach's goal is. And if you give somebody 2 years, it's not going to work. It's like giving somebody a bad situation. Well, I don't think that was a bad situation, but giving somebody a situation, they have to fix things, and they only do it for like a year or two, and then you're like, oh, it's not working, we gotta get rid of them. Like, that 3rd year could be it, that 4th year could be it, but you got to give somebody a chance to start cooking. I think the Adrian Griffin thing was kind of messed up when it came out to the Bucks, because Doc came in and kind of screwed that situation up. Regardless of how you felt about Adrian Griffin, you get everybody together and you figure that shit out, because you guys are winning. Regardless of if you guys felt like his culture wasn't the best, you didn't like how he talked to you, you didn't like how he handled things. Regardless, you guys were winning. And then you got this coach who they put on a high pedestal, and then you start losing, and you see the difference. The Bucks shot themselves in the foot, and you signed this man to a long-term contract. You paying 3 coaches right now. You got rid of the coach that got you to the championship before because he lost in the early round going through things. You got rid of him. He got you to a chip. Like, even Pop hasn't won every single year and he still has his job. So I get players having power, and I get that your star player is maybe done with this coach, but you also got to sit these two down and be like, yo, what is the best situation for us winning? And are you guys going to be mature adults about your legacy? Because a lot of times you switch coaches and it doesn't work out. And honestly, it hasn't worked out for you guys. So now you're out. I mean, I get Giannis had an injury. If Giannis doesn't get hurt, maybe it's a different story. But that still gets added on to Doc. I don't know if it saves Doc as much as his legacy would like it to, because it's still a failure in that sense of where they were and then when he got there and where they were put at. But we'll see. We'll see what happens next year. Because next year they do absolutely terrible and it's on Doc. Then the Bucks organization needs to be held accountable. All upper management needs to be held accountable. Because you fired that man with a winning record and you blamed him for the situation. And then you got a coach who was supposedly supposed to fix it. And I wouldn't say I'm a Doc fan, but I like the dude. But again, aside from that one championship, he hasn't really done much but get teams to the playoffs. That's it. So it's up to them to figure it out. But the playoffs are super interesting. I'm, as much as I like LeBron, KD, Steph, some of these other players, I'm actually really happy that they're getting eliminated from the playoffs. And I say that because I love when new faces get a chance to win. When new faces, new players get a chance to take the league by storm. Anthony Edwards is the face of the NBA. Ant Edwards is the league right now. The way this man's playing, he is the league. The way he be going out there talking his mess and playing against these legends, these future Hall of Famers, and he's unapologetic about it. He's the future of this league. Luka, future of this league, is the present of this league. He's cooking, right? Jason Tatum's probably the only player who I feel like is really, really good, but I don't know if he'll ever be the face of the league. I don't know. There's something about him that's like, he's a solid player. In a certain situation, I feel like he can do it, but I don't know. Like, this is something about him that feels like it's missing. I don't know what it is. I don't watch Celtics like that, but I don't know what it is. But I feel like the league is in really good hands, and like, we're not gonna talk about like LeBron and KD's legacy. They already solidified the legacy. Curry solidified the legacy. But the old guard is gone. It always has to be a situation where the old guard has to leave. They have to leave and they have to let the new kids take over the game. And these kids aren't asking, they're taking. Luka is not asking. Ant Edwards is not asking. John Morant is not asking, but he needs to be in the freaking league. Like, he has to stop doing stupid stuff. He has to actually play. But the league is in great hands. The league is in great hands. And I think the Wolves, I mean, especially the way they played against the Nuggets. I mean, you got Jokic, Joker. You got Joker out here playing. He's the people consider him the best center in the league right now. With Joel Embiid, the two best centers in the league. Will Joel Embiid ever win a championship? I don't know. They have a very good situation in Philly. They just need additional piece. I don't think Tobias was it. I think if they had kept Jimmy Butler, they would have had a chip. I'll be honest with you. Jimmy's that edge. Jimmy's that defensive anchor. He's also that leader. He can also get buckets. Jimmy G buckets. But it's all about figuring out that situation in Philly. Philly always has a solid team now, especially after their process, but they got to figure out what's going on there. But the league is super exciting right now. Like, I'm super excited to watch Timberwolves Nuggets. I would never say that previous years. Timberwolves Nuggets. It's exciting. It's super exciting. Like, I don't. And do you see how the Thunder are playing? The Thunder is a team where I felt like they were good and they exceeded expectations, because you always, if you've been watching basketball as long as I have, and I've been watching basketball since the mid 90s. I was born in 91, and the first thing that they did was put a basketball in my hand and put me in front of a TV with a basketball, watching basketball. I've been watching basketball for a long time. That's why it pisses me off when people start hating on 90s legends. It's that era. The era is different. The GOAT debate is dumb. The era is different. Like, everybody's upset. Oh, well, Jordan didn't play against anybody. Well, in that era, there were people he was playing against, and he was bodying them. And a lot of them were highly competitive. We're not going to sit here and act like Jordan didn't play against whatever. That's what the era had. You can't blame the era for having these type of players. Like, when people say Jordan was a terrible 3-point shooter, that is stupid. He didn't need to shoot threes like that. When he had to, he was fine. He didn't need to shoot threes like that because his game was mid-range and getting to the basket. Because who was going to stop him from doing those? Even he said in an interview, why would I focus on threes when I have this particular thing? So if I focus on threes, I'm going to stay shooting threes when y'all can't even stop me doing this. He's 100% right. Y'all couldn't stop him mid-range or getting to the basket. So why would I focus on threes to appease these people? There's legends who played in the 90s, y'all, and in the 80s. Give them their respect. There's legends who played in the 2000s. Give them their respect. Yes, were there a higher quality player? Was LeBron became a higher quality player than a lot of players in this era? Absolutely. Do I feel like he played against more competition? Absolutely. And the reason why is not because Jordan played against less. The reason why is because we got to stop acting like the game cannot advance. We got to stop acting like technology does not get better. It'd be like me saying the Super Nintendo is the greatest video game console of all time. Does it have its moments? Does it have its history? Absolutely. And in that time, it could have been the greatest console at that time. But now you got Xbox Series X's and Nintendo Switches and PS5s that do advancedly more than what that technology does. Everything has to advance. Players get better. Players get more skilled. And that's what you guys keep forgetting. Players get more skilled. Oh, they wouldn't do good in this era. They probably would. But you got to remember, the 90s, the 80s and 90s had specialists. They say positionless basketball is what we're playing in. And absolutely. The 90s and 80s had specialists. Steve Kerr was a specialist. John Paxson was a specialist. Now, did you have people who extended that specialist tag? Absolutely. You had Reggie Miller, who was a dead eye from three. But he was the star player of the team. So you had those people who were specialists, who were greater at that, who became more because they can do more. But you had specialists. Charles Oakley was a defensive anchor. He was that dude. Charles Oakley was the dude in the middle. He protected the star player. There were specialists. You had 1 through 5. You had your center, rebounds, inside game. Not many people were pulling out from 3. The few were, but not many of them. You had your power forward. You had your small forward. You had your shooting guard. You had your point guard. Everybody had their role. Do you think if Craig Hodges would have went 0 for 10 at 3, he would stay in the game? Absolutely not. And I've seen Steph Curry go 0 for something, 0 for 10 or something in a game. He's still playing in the fourth quarter. Why? Because at this point, and I know Steph Curry is more than a specialist. He's one of those people who honestly risen above. But at this point, he wouldn't have been in the game if you miss 5, 6 threes straight. You 2 for 10, 0 for 6 from 3. You're on the bench. The era was different, and that's why people got to stop comparing eras. Everything's different. They play different. 90s played a little bit slower, a little slower pace. Right now we're fast paced. Dude's cooking up 140 points per game and stuff like that. I have never seen a, like, back in the day. I want to put some emphasis on this. We can go into it if you guys want to go to it, my comparisons of the league, but I'll just say this last point until I get to my main point. Back in the day, if there was like a 13-point lead with 2 minutes left, maybe minute 30, the starters are sitting down. We putting the bench in. The bench is getting minutes. 13-point lead. Bench is getting minutes. Game is out of reach. That's how the game was back in the day. Now, starters are still in. 13 points down, that's nothing now. That's absolutely nothing now. You're down 20. I see starters still in the game. Usually down 20, 25 in the fourth. They sitting them down early fourth and just letting this game go out of reach. This game is done. Now they're cooking. Why? Because it's so much more fast paced that I see people go on a 21-0 run. Now the game is close. You can look away. I'm a Bulls fan. I can see us up 85 to 63 going into the fourth, right? And then I tune in, like I get back and I tune in for like the last minute, and it's a 106 dog fight to see who gets the win. That's the league now. No lead is honestly safe unless you up by 50. People got to be cooked, and they're like, "Oh, the worst loss in team history." Yeah, the pace is different. It's still a bad loss, but the pace is different. We no longer have specialists. Miles Turner is shooting threes. Bigs are shooting threes. People are standing at the corners. There's not much movement as it should be. That's a different topic. But what I'm saying is things are different. Era is different. Like the Thunder are a team that we usually see a young team get together. They exceed expectations during the year. They get to the playoffs and they get cooked. Right? Because they're too inexperienced. So they get a veteran team who's ready for them, and they get cooked because they don't have the full leadership yet, the full understanding of it yet, because this is probably their first playoff run or their first playoff experience where there's expectations of you, and they get cooked. It happens all the time. Then the next year they come off and they trash. It happens all the time. Like, teams exceed expectations, then they're just whatever. The Hawks did that one year, but they exceeded expectations. Trae Young did his thing. They got all the way to like the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they just been proceeded to be trash afterwards. SGA has been cooking. Like, he honestly should be MVP. He has been cooking. That young team was the first seed. They went into a series where they could have honestly dropped the ball and got trapped in that. I can see AC beating them just on the verge of this playoff experience, and they didn't. Like, they handled it as they should. And now they are going into this second round where they can actually make a lot of noise. I'm super excited for them. I'm super excited for this playoffs. And Edwards went off for like 40 something against the Nuggets. Like, that's going to be a dogfight. Like, this league is so interesting now. The playoffs are so interesting. I'm really excited to see who gets to the finals. I would love it to be Minnesota because I want Ant Edwards to keep cooking. And if he gets a ring this early, like, it's not even Cat's team. Like, no offense to Karl Anthony Towns. I think a few of us could be in the same consensus where he's a great player. He's just not the player. Like, he's a great option. I don't want to say he's like a number 2, but maybe he's just a number 2. Like, he's a number 2 sounds crazy. He's a great option on your team as a big. You got Rudy Gobert to take away all that stress of being like the big. He's handling boards. He's handling defense. Twin Towers. Y'all got this. But Ant Edwards takes over those games. I still remember the time. I think what did he score? Like Cat scored like 60 something, and then Lucas said, "Hold my beer," and decided he was gonna just take over the league. But but in that sense, the league is in really good hands. I'm excited with these playoffs. These teams are cooking right now. There's game 7s that are actually very, very interesting. My biggest disappointment. So what do we got now? We got the Thunder versus the Mavs, I believe. Thunder versus Mavs, which is going to be good because it's new guard, SGA, Luka Doncic, Ant Edwards, Jokic. Those new heads. Jamal Murray's out here cooking. The new school is out here, and I believe in the East. Don't get me wrong. I haven't really been following the East as much, but I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's gonna be. I could look it up right now. I'm just being lazy. Is it Boston, Indiana? No, it's not Boston. No, it's New York, Indiana, and I'm excited about that for the history of New York versus the Pacers. Y'all don't know about that. New York versus the Pacers. Reggie Miller cooking New York. That's a rivalry I'm super excited to come back, because New York, Indiana in that late 90s, early 2000s was a massive rivalry. Reggie Miller was in their nightmares, yo. Reggie Miller. Spike Lee went over there and made it worse. Reggie was cooking. Indiana, New York is about to be highly, highly entertaining. I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for Indiana, New York. If y'all know the history, y'all know the history. New York got to get their lick back. New York got to get their look back. I'm so sad not Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle isn't playing, because I know he had a season injury, because I would love to see the Knicks at full strength. If the Knicks get so far, the question would be, would they have gotten farther with Randle, or could they go farther by, moving Randle for pieces, depending on how far they go. So I'm excited about that. Jalen Brunson was definitely the right pick. Jalen Brunson is cooking. Absolutely. New York, Indiana is about to be highly excited. I'm excited for that. I'm super excited for that. And I think it's Boston versus, oh my God, I don't even remember. Who's Boston facing? Whatever. I shouldn't say whatever. They might do something with it. I don't know. I just don't feel like Boston has that it. And I'm really rooting for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to get one, because that Porzingis move was like one of the best moves. I'm just trying to figure out who. I don't remember who was left. What was it? Boston, Miami, and then it was Indiana, Milwaukee, and then it was New York, Philly. Who am I missing? Oh, it was Cleveland, Orlando. Hey, shout out to Orlando for actually pushing them boys to 7. Did we get a winner yet? I don't know who won. I don't think. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth, because I can honestly say this, and then I'm not gonna say, because I don't remember who won that series, and I think it's been decided, but I don't remember who won that series. But shout out to Orlando for balling through. Like, Orlando's right now, like, Orlando's definitely upside for the future. Upside for the future, definitely. New names there too. Like Powell, I might say his name wrong. PB, cooking. Donovan Mitchell's doing his thing over there in Cleveland. I mean, he got you. You don't want Gobert to get his lick back first. So it's probably Boston versus Cleveland or Boston versus Orlando. I don't know who won that, so I'm not gonna put my foot in my mouth. But I'll say this: Boston may win that. If it's Boston Cleveland, that's another rivalry that was hot in those 2009 to 2014 type. We getting some really, really great old rivalries come in, and we might get some new ones. So my predictions I think it's gonna be Boston. Boston, New York will be live. Boston, New York will be live. Indiana got a really good team. Boston, New York will be live. And on the West, I think the Mavericks have a skilled veteran team that would be the team that can dethrone OKC. It would be nice to see SGA get his team to the Western Conference Finals, but I think it's going to be Dallas, Minnesota. Denver's kind of hard to root against. Denver's really hard to root against. Denver, Dallas would be good. My heart of hearts wants Dallas, Minnesota, and then Minnesota, New York would be crazy. I know Minnesota doesn't really have the play value for y'all who like to travel to finals and stuff like that. I don't know. I've never been there. I can't really say the nightlife or anything. Minnesota, New York would be crazy though. Minnesota, New York would be wild. I think you got Jalen Brunson. New York getting a shot at a title. You know, it's been so long. I'd love to see that, especially with the cast they got there. Especially Tom Tibbs. You know, I'm a Bulls fan. I gotta get Tom Thibodeau his due. He like Larry Brown. He played point guards to their grave. But New York, Minnesota. But that's it for today, guys. That's it for this episode of, shout out to you and shout out to y'all for listening to this episode. Listen to me rant about sports. I absolutely love sports. I'm not in the rivalry mode like I used to be, so I don't really like getting involved with all that rivalry stuff. I just like watching sports. I have my favorite teams, but I don't really care for like their individual rivalries like that to be, hating on people and talking mess like that. I'm beyond that. I'm 33 years old, y'all. Your rivalry is your rivalry. Like legit, I'll wear a Giants jersey. I'm from the Bay. I'll wear a Giants jersey, and I got Dodger fans talking about some stuff. And that's like, honestly, guys, I don't care. I love just watching games and love watching teams. They lose. I have to put myself in that mental space to be away from that. And people always want to drag you back in and make it seem like you don't care. I honestly don't care. Like the Bulls haven't had a successful season in a long time. And yes, I missed the winning and them being contenders, but I'm not losing any sleep. 49ers lost the Super Bowl. That hurt, but not enough to make me like disgruntled or losing any sleep. Giants, we'll see where that goes, but it is. I'm ranting about something else. But again, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me for this 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Again, I'll be doing these episodes every so often, just talking about random stuff in the world, random pop culture, random sports things. Getting back in my zone. The Kickstarter podcast will be returning for sneaker episodes, but I just feel like, for you guys who rock with me, listen to me, I know y'all want to hear something different. I've seen that. So people are like, yo, we love sneakers, but we don't want to listen to 2 hours of sneakers. And I 100% understand. 2 hours sneakers can be daunting. And so I 100% get it. But like, I'm really excited for all this other stuff that's going on, sports stuff. We'll definitely talk about more. And if you see this video or see this podcast, or you see like my Instagram, whatever, Sneakerhead on a Budget on Instagram, The Real Mike Peasley on Twitter. If you see me on there and you like leave comments or something, I'll definitely talk about the stuff you guys are wanting to discuss. But until then, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Definitely listen to this episode, all the other episodes we have rocking for you guys. We got some great stuff coming for you in the future. Again, thank y'all so much. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental. Peace out.